and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
First world, come in and take a seat. Pay us no attention, it's all conspiracy. We have satire and parody, some funny, some perverse. If none of it's offensive to you, you'd be the first.
Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
Welcome to Silverline Silver Sunday. How you guys doing?
You all good?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good too.
No.
Tommy sick as a dog.
Yeah.
You not
got a
feeling any
cold?
better, dude?
You got a bit of a cold?
Yeah, I'm typing. I'm typing y'all a message in the.
Why are you typing?
the
We're right here. We're live. You could use your
because
mouth.
it's a little too personal that I.
Okay.
There you go.
You could just say Montezuma's Revenge if it's that personal.
Oh,
No, it's
It's not that. Oh,
no.
comments on here. We already got comments. Look at all these comments here.
Oh.
Pops, say yo. Pops, we hope you get to feeling better. Let's hear, Salazar Nation said, can't wait. Adam Lore said, hi, Vic. Hey, Frank. Hey, Silverline, a bunch of hellos. Vic said, brought more people.
God, look, even
new
my stupid
intro,
backdrop
Rocky,
looks
yeah,
like
it is
crap.
a new intro this time.
Whatever.
Buonasera, Silverliners. Tommy, where'd you send your message?
In the Facebook.
Oh,
Facebook, I've
Facebook,
seen
okay.
it. I've seen it.
Gotcha. Yeah. And
Oh, look here.
Well,
are you going to read it? Is that what you're saying?
That looks better.
I've read
No,
it.
he's not going to read it. No, so
I
come
wouldn't do that.
Wednesday, Thursday of last week, I started getting a head cold, and it started getting worse and worse. And then when I woke up on Friday, Renee's like, "You better go take a COVID test." And so I went and took one. It was negative, but I've just got a nasty head cold. It's and it's got better. I think I'm on the back end of it, but you know, when I did have COVID a year ago, this is worse than when I had COVID. So, yeah, because when I had COVID, all I had was a runny nose. This is just yuck.
I'm sorry to hear you feeling bad, man. But you got some inking done, all right?
Yeah.
It's like Pete when he had COVID, right? He got all kind of pages done.
Oh, it's great. Can't go out. Can't do
It was
anything.
great.
Well,
Yeah, if y'all hear me pause the thing or whatever, it's because I'm coughing up a lung.
I'm sorry to hear that. Vic says, closer and closer to pronouncing it right. Well, that's good. And he says, hope you feel better, Tom.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So let me give some quick Kickstarter updates before we launch into.
I got some news about that too.
Oh, that's good to hear. So for the Divinity Twilight Grim Kickstarter, hopefully packages should start going off.
No, it's Divinity
3.
4.
What did I say?
Twilight Grim.
Oh, yeah. Divinity 3, and that's because someone wanted a Twilight Grim as a back issue. Divinity 3 and Trump's 4 Kickstarter. Those should start going off tomorrow, out tomorrow. If not tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll be able to get a bunch of them out, but I suspect the news that Tommy's going to tell me will affect the others that won't get to go out. So is that what you have to tell me?
Yeah.
Okay.
One way or the other. Tomorrow you'll have the rest of it.
Okay.
Assuming that I go to work. So
yeah.
well, of course you're going to go to work. Why wouldn't you go to work? It's Monday.
Because I'm dying.
Oh, please.
Yeah. So the only thing that we don't have, the only thing I don't have in my hands to ship out are the foil covers. So if you didn't get a foil cover,
What's the printer doing?
I don't know.
Apparently,
it's been a little bit
sick as
more
a dog.
difficult than what, and it wasn't. It was a
Look at him
mechanical
squirming in his seat.
problem.
Look at him squirming. This is right.
Yeah, because I'm not
No
trying to blame
excuse.
anybody, but it wasn't our fault.
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
I heard from a little bird that that Tommy was apparently given the what for to a mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just stick to your bikes.
They were basically. I had a whole bunch of samples. So when they came by on Thursday, I'm like, "Is this supposed to print like this?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "That's the reason why I can't print these." So fix this. Fix this. And they're like, no. And then halfway through, I'm fixing it. I'm like, okay, so I just wanted to know. And he's like, no, Thomas, it's not supposed to print like that. And I'm like,
so as long as we're on the same page, right?
that's right. He's like, leave me alone. Let me find out what the problem is.
Vic, that's all the back issues are printed. Yes, sir, Vic. All the back issues are printed. Those were actually in stock already. So,
Yeah.
Well,
and everything else is printed except for those, 100 or so foil covers.
Yeah.
No, they're actually, most of them are all printed. I just got to get them all bound, and I still got about 30, 40 more that I need to finish up on. So,
gotcha.
I'm starting to question what you do with your day. To be honest.
I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping most of the time.
What else have you got to do?
Yes.
So there's that one, and then the other Kickstarter update is for.
I mean, those guys, not me. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Crap! What was the other Kickstarter? I'm drawing a blank.
The new one. The new one.
The one we just finished.
You got a new one.
Cape Town #1 and Fire Rush #3.
There you go.
We don't have the money from Kickstarter yet, so when we get that, we'll place the order with Kablam, our wonderful printer. Surveys have gone out. I've got a whole bunch of them. If you are a supporter of Cape Town and Fire Rush, please be sure that you filled in your survey. Main thing I need in there immediately is I need the name that you need on the thank you page that will go in the Kickstarter edition.
And those should print more smoothly now that I figured out what the problem was with the fall.
Excellent.
Thank you pages. They strike me as a lot of work. You're good to do them, but they must be a pain.
They are a pain. They are. Yeah, that's why they only go in the Kickstarter editions.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's enough just to say thanks for backing the book.
Yeah.
Save yourself some work.
Yeah.
I see lots of people offering this name thank you page. So that's a lot of work.
It is.
Why are you making so much
Roland actually calls everybody that
who does?
Good.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, cool. I need to call you. FaceTime.
Bud. Dude, he uses
gets a FaceTime call. Thank you. Personal thank you. No.
Roland's a dude kind of guy, so it's like, I appreciate you, dude.
That's right. You, yeah. No other chit chat. Just, hey man, thanks. Click.
Thanks, and I'll see you.
Thanks for all the fish and so long. Right.
There you go.
Oh no, it's the other way around. So long and thanks for all the fish.
Thanks for the fish.
Oh, thanks for the fish.
So Cape Town Fire Rush. Those books are done, except for the thank you page. Make sure you get your survey finished and submitted, please. And we don't have the money from Kickstarter yet, although I am anticipating that money to come in early this week, like Monday through Wednesday. That's kind of been their regular schedule. They've been we've done several of these, so they've been pretty regular. So I do anticipate the money from them to hit us by Wednesday. So, and Vic says we almost ready for Cat and Mouse #4. Vic, we are getting closer and closer by the day. In fact, I just
4 pages. 5 pages, 6 pages.
18, 19, 20.
I can't get there.
5 pages, yeah.
5 pages.
5 pages.
Cool.
Yeah. Miguel Puerta, he said I got his name wrong in our little private update. He is working on the last batch of pages, and he is steady, but he is not fast. So those are coming in. The good news is
knocking them out, right? Just as soon as he's doing it.
Yep, that's right. Yep. Because it's basically as soon as he finishes the pencils and I get them, they go over to Barb and she inks them before I can barely even say, "Hey, there's the page to ink." So she's knocking them out as well. So Vic, I anticipate it won't be the next Kickstarter, but maybe the one after that. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, fingers crossed again. It'd be nice to see Cat and Mouse 4 with Silverline Team Up #2.
Talk to the Inca. Also, can someone get me a new scanner because it's really holding me up?
I was trying to help Pete out today, that
was no help.
Down some drivers that didn't
no help.
It was no help.
He sent me a link. So basically, short story. I've got a new laptop. It's not compatible with my old scanner. So he sent me this link to download the new driver for my laptop. You click that button. Guess what happens?
Spam.
Nothing.
Oh.
Nothing.
Nothing happens. It clicks and nothing happens. I was like, this is great.
Well, you know, now your computer's full of spam or full of viruses. So sorry about that.
Yeah, so I'm going into work tomorrow, obviously, and then I'm going to see if they have a scanner on their big, massive printer.
Oh,
I'm not convinced, but
yeah,
you never know.
Yeah. So, so the laptop you got, was it doesn't have any kind of support for the scanner?
The scanner's quite old, and
Okay.
I think they stopped making or releasing
drivers
for the new
and
Windows
it looked like
11.
it was more of a geared towards Mac type of stuff.
Yeah, it's
and
definitely a Mac scanner.
Yeah, and it was, so I was really reaching trying to find a.
Yeah, it worked on my Mac flawlessly, but on my HP, on a HP laptop, which I'm on right now, which does everything the Mac did for a fraction of the price, except it does not like that.
It doesn't like your skin.
And also, I can hear the fan going quite loudly right now, which is concerning for a laptop that's only a few days old. But whatever.
Yeah. It's funny that you can hear it because my Mac laptops are always really loud. The fans, they get hot. They get really
Mine was
hot.
getting hot and loud towards the end, and now I know why.
Yeah,
because it was blowing up.
It blew up.
Pete, I bet there is I bet there's an app, for lack of a better word, that you can use to scan. I can't remember. I used to use something before.
They do like PDF, or it basically takes a photo and then it makes a. I'm not sure how high the resolution of those things are.
Yeah, well, you can always do that and then open it in Photoshop and see what the resolution is.
Yeah, that's what I have to do.
Yeah, I used to have to. I can't remember what it's. Twine maybe is what I used to use. You remember that, Tommy? Twine.
Or
you scan it using Twine.
Scan it on my little A4 scanner on the printer, and then piece it together
half and half
in Photoshop. Which is what you have to do with double page spreads anyway, because you obviously I don't have a 22-inch scanner.
Yeah. Who does?
I did find one online, and it was rather expensive.
Oh, it was probably really expensive.
But you must have big scanners in your shop.
We do, but it's not. It wouldn't be that big. No.
Wouldn't be what big?
Enough to do a double page, 11 by or 22 by 17.
Yeah, my scanner is a scanner printer combo, and it will do an 11 by 17. That's as large. That's as large as it will go. Yeah, but it will do 11 by 17. What's that? It's
an expensive printer.
Yeah.
Let me guess. You borrowed it from work.
No.
I'm just taking this to fix it.
This thing's probably 10 years old by now.
Yeah.
It's pretty old. Vic said, I just walk 8 miles to go to an Office Depot. It's not efficient, but it works.
I can
see Vic.
There's no way you can just walk in and get a scan done or something.
I can see Vic with his little portfolio, right?
Yeah.
Not little portfolio, but for riding his bicycle.
It's got a skateboard.
Yeah. And then when he gets there, hey, I need you to
Can you scan this stuff in?
I need you to scan. Hey, you'll know that's the story of how I actually met Dean Zachary, right? I met him
at a print shop.
At a print shop.
You told us you met Dean in a strip club.
He did tell
that wasn't
us
Dean. That was Tommy.
Oh right.
You're confusing Americans. I know. I know we all look alike to you.
That's true.
All right.
He said he was dancing around the pole.
Yeah.
I said, hey, do you want to see my pages?
He's
look at my pages.
You want to see my pages? He keeps promising us a TikTok dance, but we haven't gotten it. A twerking dance.
Oh.
Tommy's like, stop reminding everybody. All right. So anything else new, you guys? That catches us up on the Kickstarters. Tommy, what are you sharing?
Oh,
this is great.
Yeah, get off of that real quick.
It's like Inception.
Bad pops up.
So, here we go. Vic says he borrowed one, and that's why they had armed guards when everyone got fired at Malibu. Yeah. It would have been not. You know, if I would have known ahead of time, I might have come away with some equipment. But
there we go.
All right.
You almost saw my porn screen. I had it.
Yeah. All right, Tommy. What are we looking at? Are you gonna be inking? What are we looking at?
Yep. This is Champ Fury
good Lord.
number 2, page 13.
Excellent. Very cool. So
look at this.
that brings us to tonight's topics. Pete, you don't have to have handy your Instagram post, do you?
My post or the page?
Fixing
I
to
was
get in
thinking
the
the
arguments
post.
here.
We share the post.
I don't. If you got the post, I sent it to you on the group.
Oh, let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I can bring it up there. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah. All right, so I'm gonna try to share
get
this.
Personally attacked at all?
Let me share this really quick here.
I took great enjoyment doing those bricks.
Present, share screen. We're going to tell you a little bit about where our title comes from tonight. I don't need a Chrome tab. I need. There we go. That. So this is a post that Pete made. I can't see the date on here, but well, I can't read
must
it.
be a couple of days ago.
Yeah, a couple of days ago.
Look at the beautiful work on that.
I cannot read the post now. Oh crap!
I can read you the post.
Yeah, read the post, Pete. What did it say?
Hang on, let me find it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
It's a great advertising for my Instagram, by the way. If you want to see bricks. That's my last Instagram post. Did I mention beware the damn witchfinder has bricks? ? Not just a few bricks, but a damn load of bricks. Safe to say, brick lovers are going to dig this book. Head over to Damn Witchfinder on Instagram for more updates and teasers.
There you go. So while you're here, go over to Instagram and follow Pete's page there. But his post inspired the title for today's stream, which is "How many bricks is too many?" We talk a lot in different aspects, and we're gonna cover all the comic booky stuff, right? We're gonna talk about scripts as well, right? How much is too much? I tend to tell my students, you guys as artists, you guys correct me if you disagree with me. When we get into writing scripts, one of the things, if you look around the internet will tell you don't write very many details. Leave that to the artist. Well, I tell my students that's a load of hooey, because most artists that I know and have talked to about these kind of things said, no, I need you to tell me what to draw. Not necessarily how to draw it, but tell me what to draw. Because if they have to guess, then that's going to make the writer unhappy. The writer's going to say, well, why didn't you draw this? And the artist is going to say, well, you didn't write it. How am I supposed to know that you want that there if you don't write it? So I tell my students, put some details in there. Again, don't draw it in your script. Let the artist do that. But hey, if you want a character to have, spiky hair and earrings and a nose thing and, a tattoo, you need to describe those for the artist, because otherwise they're not going to do it because they don't know to do it. What do you, as artists, what do you guys think about that as far as scripts go?
Right. So, what do I want from a script?
And not one that you draw. Clearly, if you draw it, you don't have to.
I guess the more detail you put in it, the less chance I have of delivering to you something where you go, well, what the hell is this? It's not what I wanted. But at the same time, the more stuff you put in it, the longer it's going to take me to read it, and I just want to get to the drawing of it. And less freedom, I guess I'll probably feel like I have. Like, well, I've got to get every little, and it gets more difficult. So, what bits are the important bits? I have to pick out the bits that are important.
Yeah.
And just sometimes you'd say, well, that's not important, so I'm just not going to include it because I can't include everything.
Right.
If I try and include everything, I have 20 panels on the page, and it's just never going to go anywhere. So, I don't know. Depends, isn't it? Depends what's needed on the page.
Tell me what
you got to make sure that you have
if it's an emotional page. I need to know what emotions you want the characters to be feeling.
Yeah.
If it's an action page where something specific is going to happen or going to be related to later in the book, I need to know about that. So I don't turn up and say, "Oh, actually, on page 15, we're going to go back to the thing that was meant to happen on page 2, but I didn't tell you about that." So you got to go back and redraw that. So,
one of the things I do.
You remember that dude that got beat up on page 2? Now he shows up, and you go, "I drew a girl getting beat up."
He's back now. He's got a scar. So,
well,
I didn't cut him on the face. I cut him. I just kicked him, and okay. That's not gonna work.
One of the things I also tell them is that you can't keep secrets from your artist. And the example that I give them is that, okay, in your script, you cannot write a mysterious looking figure enters the room.
Yeah.
What are you going to draw, Pete?
I don't know. I've just drawn a guy. I'll probably draw myself. If I'm honest. I'll put myself in this book somewhere.
You'll end up with Pete or somebody.
I will draw someone I know. He's mysterious. I'll put him in some sunglasses and a hat. Maybe he's got a cigarette. People just make cigarettes are mysterious. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah. I like cigarettes and
then it'll come to page 13. He was like, actually, I wanted Michael Clark Duncan, not Thomas Flormonti.
Like, man, now you got to take me out.
And that's when the artist says, well, you're not getting them, right? Yeah. And I tell them this because it's like, look, you can keep secrets from the reader, but you and the artist have to be on the same. You have to keep the secret from the reader together. So when you say a mysterious figure enters a room, it's Thomas Flormonti, but no one will find this out until page 13, right?
Yeah.
Because you could do that then. Tommy, what do you think?
No, I agree.
Tommy's like, I'm sick. I'm keeping my answers short. Vic says, I remember my first pages I drew a few thousand bricks. That's a lot of bricks.
I'm a guy that loves a bit of detail. We know this.
Yes.
I love a bit of detail, and that's a flaw. You know, I'm not saying that's a good thing. Sometimes I get a bit bogged down in stuff. And it's only in the inks where I can say, actually, I did too much. I didn't need all that. Because once it's shrunk down on the page, it could become, I don't think it has, but it could become a bit gloopy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we are a little fortunate in that today we print on better paper. So you get to maintain a lot of the details that you might not have gotten, 20 years ago. But as a fan, Pete, don't you like artists that draw with detail? Let's say someone like a George Perez or a Jim Lee.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but they can do it. It's not as simple as saying, I just draw lots of detail, and that's what they've done.
I'm not saying it was simple.
Not what they've done.
But I'm saying that as a fan, don't you like it? Don't you enjoy it to consume it? Right?
Yeah. I want to see lots of cool art, and if that's detailed, that's fine. But it doesn't have to be detailed. There's some guys out there doing some stuff that's really cool, and it's just really minimalist.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know. Maybe that's the where you're aiming to get to. You start ditching all the stuff and making it like Alex Toth. You become just black and whites, and it all works perfectly well.
Yeah.
Don't need all the cross hatching. Don't need all the lines. Don't need all that. Just distill it down to its basics.
Well,
which is actually quite hard. It looks simple. It looks easier, but it's not. It's hard. I think it's harder to say that's enough. I don't need that.
I don't need any more lines.
No, I don't need any more lines. The story is clear. The story's clear.
Yeah. Well, there's a really good video, and I wish I could find it because it was about a manga artist, and I can't remember which one it was. So you guys forgive me for that. But it talked about backgrounds and kind of it's sort of talking about the difference of backgrounds in this particular manga artist and manga then in general, and then versus kind of Western art, right? And one of the things that it showed this particular manga artist did, he drew a very super detailed first panel. Big, it might have been a splash page, I can't remember. But it had all kind of details in it. I mean, just full of details. But then like the next 3 pages, it was just like the background was just like a line here, a little box there, right? And it was almost nothing in the way of details in the background. Now, admittedly, a lot of them were mid shots and close-ups, where the first one was a big long shot. But the argument went that what has happened in the reader's eyes is that the artist has established the entire setting in that first panel. So you know exactly what it looks like, so that when they zoom in on the characters and then begin to do some of that, you don't need it because your eye remembers what it looked like in that first panel. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I find that really hard to do, even though I think it's a good thing to do, and it makes things quicker, and just to leave panels empty or with that just to like, will the reader understand what's going on, or will they look at it and think, well, he hasn't even bothered to do that? So I find it very difficult to do that.
I remember the one of the comments about the Christmas story that we did with Cat and Mouse. You said that you started to draw something. You said, I started to draw something back here. Then I went, nah, Roland's just going to cover that up with words.
Yeah.
Stop.
I've got to remember that. He's just going to plaster a word balloon over that. I don't need to do this.
So, Vic says, don't Alan Moore it, but if you don't describe it and get mad at me, I will beat the ever-loving. This comment has been censored within PG-13 out of you, right? Yeah. And I think that's part of the thing about the details is that if, as a writer or writers, if you don't write it and the artist doesn't draw it, you cannot get mad at them for not drawing it. You have lost your right to get mad because you did not give them the information. Now, if you give them the information and they don't do it, well, then that's on the artist. But if you neglect, because I can't tell you how many of my students say, well, the artist will know. And my first question is,
we won't.
What artist do you know that can read minds? Because I don't know any. Right? Mystery guy in a cloak, probably. Yeah. I don't understand this next one. Vic says manga. Ha ha ha. If it's a close up on the face, there's no real use for a background.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's
Well, like how many times
it's the wider panels and the larger panels where I see artists getting away with just having no background and it still works. And I'm not sure I'd be brave enough to leave that much space empty.
Yeah.
Well, how many times do you need to have to draw the same, establishing shot over and over and over again, just to show that we'll just take some of this stuff that they're in New Orleans. When you show them on the rooftop, do we need to show the rooftop over and over and over while they're fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, we know it's the rooftop. We know they're still up there fighting.
Yeah. Jerry says, make mine Silverline with a lot of lines.
That's right.
What is up, Mr. Jerry? Glad you tuned in. We talked to Jerry a few weeks ago. We're getting back on here. So I know all three of us, the three of us on here tonight, we're all fans of Spider-Man. And I know when I think of Spider-Man, I think of the classic John Romita stuff. I know a lot of people think of Ditko, and of course, a lot of younger folks are always, thinking of McFarlane. But when I picture Spider-Man in my head, right, I am picturing and imagining the John Romita Spider-Man. There was lots of details and lines in those Spider-Man comics, right?
Yeah. Not like there is today, though, in the modern comics, I don't think. The level of detail and stuff has gone mental. Which I like. Because you're able to do a lot more now. You say with the printing, you couldn't get away with that back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that in the, what is it, probably 2000s, comics began to Western comics began to shift a little bit, and they got simpler. You had things like obviously the Bone. You guys all know Bone. There's not very many lines in Bone, which I think is just Bone is a fantastic comic. But we had the influence of manga, which I think ended up producing sort of a mix, an American influenced. It wasn't manga, but it was sort of a manga influenced American style. I think we got folks like he's since passed on, Ringo, right? Mike Ringo, his work was it was simple and not devoid of lines, but it didn't have the really complicated lines like who's the guy who did Long Shot? I really like the art for Long Shot, but he couldn't draw a whole lot. What was his name? Come on, Tommy, you remember that with Long Shot?
I don't know Long Shot.
I'm not certain.
Oh crap! Y'all gonna make me Google it. Who did Long Shot? Innocenti was the writer. I can see his name in my head. Art Adams. Oh yeah, look at that. Adam got it. Art Adams. Yeah, Art Adams. Fantastic. Lots of details. Lots of little lines. But beautiful, beautiful work. But part of the problem, I think, with an Art Adams was he just couldn't do, because it was so detailed, he couldn't do the artwork that quickly. Jerry says, Barry Windsor Smith was one of those who changed the look of Conan as his own art altered drastically within a year, from loose to hyper detailed.
Yeah.
So I think the question is, or one of the questions is, for me and for this whole stream is that a bad thing if you go from the deep to do the detail? Pete's already said he's a fan of it, but Tommy, your own art, right? When you do like Zomboy, Zomboy's not got a lot of
not as far as the figures go, but when I if you've probably seen the backgrounds, I kind of overdo the background. Like when we were at the Pensacon the weekend before last, sitting next to a Guy Gilchrist, and he was watching me draw the stuff, what my little commissions and things, and I was just drawing the real cartoony figures, and then I would show it to him, and he was like, "Oh, they're pretty cool," and then I would start doing all the background stuff, and he was like, "Why are you drawing all that stuff in the background?" It's like, well, I still render the heck out of the backgrounds and put all the texture and all that kind of stuff. So even when I do my cartoony stuff, I still tend to go nuts, with the background stuff.
Yeah. So do you think from Adam says, I think Art Adams is mostly a cover artist these days. It wouldn't surprise me.
But he's cross-hatching. Art Adams cross-hatching is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right. When people talk about cross-hatching, that's what you need to go and look at. And I like a bit of cross-hatching. I don't think I do it very well. He does it. He's a master. So yeah.
Trying to think of the inker that he had that most of that stuff that did a great job. Let me look that up real quick.
Art Adams.
Yeah.
I can't remember who inked the Long Shot. I want to say he might have inked it himself.
I don't think so.
I don't know that for sure. It's funny because I googled Long Shot and Wikipedia comes up and there's a cover, Exile 74 by Paul Pelletier. I've asked Paul to come on this show and talk with us, so maybe he will sometime. I don't know about that, but his inker. Yeah, I like this. I like this comment from Jerry. Tell me what you guys think here. He says, my honest opinion, there needs to be room in comics for both approaches. We need Toth and Kirby too. What do you guys think?
Yeah, you don't want everything I don't want every comic I pick up to be just the same rehash of someone trying to copy someone else. It's all just, you know, the period everything was trying to be Jim Lee or, you know, those Image guys. I don't want that. I want a bit of, I want to pick up stuff and it be different. Otherwise, I'll just lose interest. Like, oh, I've seen all this. So absolutely, yeah.
I would actually make the argument too, though, that's partly why the pendulum swings some, right? Is that you have someone like Jim Lee come out, and then you have a whole generation of young artists trying to draw like Jim Lee because they're inspired by Jim Lee, and then that works its way into the marketplace, and then readers are like, okay, everything looks this way, and so when someone else comes along that looks different, readers are pulled to this other thing because it's different from what everybody else is doing, and I would argue that this is partly why independent comics tend to do so well in different periods of times, because people get burned out for one reason or another with kind of what Marvel and DC are doing, and so they look for something a little different, and then they go to independent comics. Vic says, a simpler style, while nice, I prefer my hyper-detailed stuff, which is why you like Peter's work, right, Vic? Sure. You know who's great with crotch-hatching? My favorite penciler, Gil Kane. Yeah. And then Jerry says, who doesn't like Darwin Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly,
yeah. Yeah, I think so. So as an artist, going back to those bricks, how do you decide where to stop with the bricks?
That's a very good question, because initially when I penciled that page, there were no bricks at all. It was just the building was in the background, and it's a double page spread, so it's a large building, right? So it's not just a small thing in the back. And I looked at the page when I'd finished it, and I was like, well, I don't like just that emptiness of the building. I know it's in the background, but I should still see some shadows, I think. And I thought, I'm not going to go through and just go big black shadows, because then it will just compete with what's going on in the foreground. So that's not going to work. And initially I thought, oh, maybe I'll pencil a couple of bricks here and there. I just wasn't getting what I wanted. Then I stumbled upon this idea. I thought, well, I can do the bricks in shadow in black, and then the bricks that are not in shadow, I can just do a pencil or a pen outline. And I was quite fairly happy with how it came out, how it finished. Well, no, I say fairly. I'm very happy with how it finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit of trial and error, and it was like, right, I'm going to go for this, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then let's get the whiteout out. But I think it was a minimalist approach to doing lots of bricks. I wasn't the shadow bricks. I wasn't too fussed about shape and getting them all exactly the same and everything lined up. It's a cobblestone building at the end of the day, so it doesn't have to be. I can just put black blocks in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could have just left it at the black, I suppose. I'm not worried about the ones that are not in shadow.
Yeah.
But that's my hang up, my issue.
Which is what?
I find it very difficult to step back and say that's finished.
That's enough.
That's enough. And not look at an empty space and think, I need to put something in that.
Yeah.
I still struggle with that. I've always struggled with that, and I will continue to do so, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, and we've talked about this multiple times on here, right? The more, and this is for everybody, the more you do, the more you figure out, oh, well, that's actually really not necessary, and I don't need to do that after all, right? And I think probably creative people will do that their entire lives, right?
Yeah. And hey, at the end of the day, the colorist will sort it all out, sure.
Well, I was gonna. So that was my next question. So
they won't.
Why, or did you consider maybe? Let me just, because everything's done with Photoshop these days. Let me just let the colors drop in a sort of a bricky looking pattern.
No, I hate it. I hate
What?
it. I hate it
really?
when a colorist comes in and just drops something in. So don't do that. I didn't pencil that. I didn't ink that. That's not what I drew. Don't just drop that in. I really don't like it. I really don't like it. I didn't pencil in, could you draw brick effect or paint some brick effect on this? Because it's not correct. It's not, right. It won't be in perspective. It'll just be like a stamp. There you go, done. That's not how you do it. Please don't do that. So yes, my hang up, don't do that. I leave nothing to the colorist. I don't want to leave anything to the colorist, really. I know I'm sure I probably do, but
yeah.
I mean, I had to say to Roberta, that's snow.
Yeah, that's right.
Because my penciling wasn't clear. That's my fault. And I had to, Roberta, that's rubble. I'm sorry, that's not very clear. That's my fault. That's my fault. It's not very clear.
Well, you're the director, right? I mean, visually, you're the director. This is
I mean, it's not a film. We're okay because I know who's going to be coloring the book, and I know we know Roberta's going to do a good job, and I know who's inking it, and that's all good. But if I'm in a chain at another publisher and I don't know from month to month who's coloring it, I don't want to pick up the book and go, "Oh my God,
what did they do?
What has happened to this?"
Yeah,
I want to be able to look at it and go, "Yeah, that's cool." I don't want to look at it and go, "Oh man, I can't show that to anybody. They're going to think I did that."
So, oh man, well, at least they paid me.
Yeah.
Right.
When I go to the conventions and set it, I'll put that one at the back.
Right in the back of the box.
Did you do this? I penciled it. Yeah, I penciled it.
That's right.
And
here are photocopies.
Hey,
listen.
I don't remember it.
I knew a penciler one time who was so unhappy with the final look of the book. And I can't remember if it was multiple books or just one book. But he had a photocopy of his pencils. And he would take them to a convention with him. And when people would say, "Hey, I like that, but here's what the pencils look like. They're so much better. Yeah. Please look through those so you'll know." Of course, if you ask me, that's a little much.
Yeah,
but,
a little much. That's when you're really not happy. So, let it go. No. Just let it go. Move on to the next thing. Let it go.
Well, and that, I think that's one of the beauty of comics, right? Is that unless you're about to retire, just let it go, move on, do the next one.
Yeah, I am good at letting things go. Except for when Tommy had to redraw that hand, I was like, no, I'm going to show you how to do this. I'll walk you through this.
It's the fact that you didn't draw it to start off with.
I didn't draw it at all.
No.
I just love the fact that it was just a picture. Here's a hand.
Just draw this.
A hand.
For God's sake.
Well, I always hate
look at the end of your arm and draw that.
Let's see. Vic's got some comments here talking about bricks. It says 47 patches of bricks. I guess instead of bricking the whole thing, depending on the panel. Who ruined my pencils? Where'd the wrist go? Yeah.
See, I have fun drawing the backgrounds as much as nearly as much as I do doing the characters. So I like the buildings where possible to have some character.
Yeah.
So and usually that's in the brickwork or the windows or the frames,
Mm-hmm.
So I do try to have fun doing that.
The wrought iron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I get a big splashy, I will go to town and try and make a really cool landscape.
Yeah.
With a character in it.
Well, I know, like you, I'm a fan of detailed work too. I mean, George Perez was always one of my favorites. And if anybody, draws details, George Perez does. And I think that was one of the things as a fan, I always liked. I always liked to look at his work and see all the details that he decided to draw in the work. And to me, that's enjoyable as a fan to look for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I enjoy looking at all the stuff that the artist draws, not just the big splashy punches and stuff. I want to,
right?
Because I'm learning from looking at what they're doing. I suppose I'm looking at my artist side, thinking, how has he done that? And
yes,
how much detail has he put there, and because often you can get confused between what the colorist has done to make it look even better.
Yeah,
because there are some incredible colorists out there that really do take just a few lines and then suddenly they've made, with the colors and the shadows and everything, it's
they start putting all the rendering.
You're thinking that's not the pencil or inker that's done that. That's you've got to then to go and try and do that with a pencil. It's like, well, actually, no, that's too much because it's not black. It's just in shading.
Yeah. I do think we're in. I know we've talked about this in streams before. I do think we're in an era where there's a lot of over rendering in color, and I'm not a fan of and I know that there's a people of some of the painterly artists out there who will chastise me for that, but I'm not a fan of the big painted look. I am a fan of line art. That's what I like. And I know that there's some super talented painters out there. I'm not trying to suggest those people aren't talented or skilled. I'm just saying that I don't prefer it as a reader. I don't prefer that. I want to see the line work. And when it looks painted, then you don't get to see that. Vic says, I hate background a lot of the time. I hate parking garages. Once this is done with this book, I will never set anything in one again. Happy Jack, what's up, Happy Jack? Savinka says, bricks, oh bricks. I was trying to be experimental and did a brick wall. Only I decided to put Zipatone over each brick. Oh my gosh, each brick for texture. Looked cool, but never again. Oh,
I remember doing that back in the day. No
Zipatone
way.
over each brick. That's
thank you.
Yeah, that's just asking for a heartache there, Happy Jack. Vic says Alex Ross can do a cover. I don't want the interiors to be painted. Yeah, Alex Ross is one of those that I realize that this is blasphemy in comic circles, but I think Alex Ross is a super talented guy. I love his covers, but I don't want to see interiors painted, right? And I worked with some painters as an editor.
You got I don't know. You pick up some of his stuff; it's incredible. I love it.
No, I'm not saying it. It's not good, and he's not talented, and I think probably, like Jerry was saying earlier, there's room for all of it, and I agree. I personally am just not a fan of painted stuff. For the most part, I find the painted work that looks stiff, and yes, even Alex Ross. I think those things they look very stiff, and there's not a lot of movement in it. That was barely English. My bad, Roland. Yeah, Vic, I had to kind of read between the lines in that one, trying to figure out what you were saying. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think I'm more of a fan of painted covers than I am of painted interiors. I want the interiors to move. I want them to have action and movement. I think that's one of the reasons that I was always such a big fan of Romita. There was so much movement in his Spider-Man. You could look at a couple of panels and you could almost see the movement happening, right? I mean, he did it with action lines and what are those ghosted images called, Pete? When you have like Spider-Man jumps down from a ceiling from a roof and he does a loop on a flagpole.
Yeah,
and
you
then
see it all,
lands.
but it's only like it's not as detailed. They're not as detailed figures. It's like
Yeah, they're just little
It's a
ghost
silhouette
outlines.
with the kind of without.
What do you call
the-
those? What's the
I don't
official?
Is there
Come on,
a
you're a
official
QS
name for
school
it?
graduate. What do you call those?
Pictures.
Drawing.
So if I were to ask you for one of those, Pete, how would I script it so that you would understand?
That's a good question.
I think you've drawn it.
Show the shadow of the movement. Maybe. I don't know. That's not my problem. It's your problem.
That's my problem.
You talking about? I'm not solving your problems. You talking about?
I think it's fair for writers when they want something to say like this and use a panel from just pull up a Romita panel, right?
Well, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, Adam says I think watercolor paint works better for comic interiors than oils or acrylics. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to kind of show me the difference. I think maybe.
Watercolors is like an ink wash. Ink wash works. I love a bit of ink wash. It's cool.
Okay.
The liquid graphite and things like that.
You'd have to...
Watercolors. Have I got one here? I don't think it's here.
Well, it's like Dave Dorman. Dave Dorman is a fantastic painter. I saw someone mention Star Wars here, and I think his covers are awesome, right? And they're all painted. They're beautiful, right? But I don't think he paints any interiors. Do you know, Tommy? I know he doesn't do many interiors at all, but I think when he does, he pencils those. Vic says, granted, watercolor, you can see the line work. Okay. Reverse silhouette, he's trying to help us out with the
oh no, reverse silhouette's just with that white and not black.
Yeah, I would call it more of a ghosted image. This man went all 3 years and doesn't know the terminology. He got his degree.
What do you want? I mean, I learn anything.
He sounds like my student.
I just turned up.
Star Wars Dark Empire is a good example. Oil painted covers, watercolor interiors. I think that might be Dave Dorman. Is that Dave, Adam? I think so.
I don't know if I've got it on me. No, I think I must have left it downstairs. I was doing something else. I had a little tin of liquid graphite. You put water on it, and it just paints. So
that's kind of cool.
Watercolor.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
But I use that primarily on backgrounds. I don't really embellish my figures too much with it. I'll do my line work on that, and it's cool in the background because it doesn't compete with the strong black lines of the figure.
Yeah.
And whatever's you've got going on in the foreground.
Have you ever used? I don't even know if they make it anymore. You ever use the duotone?
Zip tone.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do it on the computer now.
Yeah,
I have done. Yes.
Yeah.
Roland's talking about that paper that had the two different chemicals that you put on it.
Yeah. The artboard was actually, it had the lines built into the artboard, and you used chemical to get the line going one way, and then used a different chemical.
They were horizontal or vertical, depending on the fluid that you put on it.
Yes. Yeah.
That was expensive stuff too.
It was very expensive. I did one miniseries that was done like that by Darren Goodhart penciled it, and then Bruce McCorkindale did the inks, and he did all those got all those patterns just using the particular ink wash or whatever it's called.
Yeah, one of my earlier things, somebody sent me with those boards, and they go, well, here you got to go order this fluid. And I'm like, what? I don't want to order this fluid.
to use one time, right? Adam says, Dave Dorman did the covers, and Kim Kennedy on interiors. Dave's awesome. I use Duo too, but I don't want to get cancer.
Oh, really?
I guess the fluids are giving cancer.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
You just do it. You can do it on a computer now.
Yep.
Scan in inks and then just add them.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about it is,
Clip will do it for you automatically.
Yeah.
Studio. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, because you say, well, I do all of my work traditionally. That's fine. You still got to scan it, right? Because I, to my knowledge, I don't think any publishers actually take the actual physical artwork anymore. I don't think Marvel and DC do it. I don't think most publishers just say, send me the files.
Yeah.
And everything, which is a big difference from, when I was an editor, because we used to get, FedEx box after FedEx box. Tommy, you remember those days, man?
Oh, yeah.
So many FedEx boxes. But now, I mean, this is, of course, I'm thinking, man, the money that we could have saved back in the day, if that had been the case for us. We spent, I never saw our FedEx bill, but I know we spent so much money.
Because we were, there'd be days where it's like, you got a cover done, FedEx it overnight. And you're like, it's like $60-70 just the FedEx. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all right, here it comes.
Yeah. Or if you're running behind on a book, I need you to send me 12 pages by, this day. And or 6 pages here, 6 pages there. Just send them as you're doing them, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have time to do the entire book. It was nice to be able to schedule an entire book to come in like that, but it did not often happen. But so what about let's talk more kind of about because when I was talking about the color, it's just dropping in, kind of like a bricky pattern. What about what do you guys think about cut and paste? So let me give you an example. So I had an artist send me some pages. I wanted to use some pages for my class, and I just sent out. This goes back like 10 years. And I just sent out a big call. Hey, I'd like to have some pages for my class. Just want to use it. One artist sent me pages, and there was a page. I kid you not. There was a page that had I want to say 5 horizontal panels on it. Right. So they were all wide panels. Boom, boom, boom. 5 of them, and each of them had a head on it, a face. Right. The face was like here, and then kind of like that. But in the background, or the first panel was drawn, and then in panels 2, 3, 4, and 5, it just said stat panel 1, stat panel 1.
I don't. God, there was. You may remember that that Nightman book. There was a Nightman book that I used for you. That it was like half the book was that. It was just take, y'all paid me for it all, but it was like it was like page after page of the same thing. It was over and over again, and the penciler just said stat from this, stat from that, stat from the other, stat from something else, stat and stat. And then I had to call you guys and I don't have a what that's called a mimeostat machine or whatever it was, because you didn't want us to use just a photocopier because they weren't that great at the time.
Yeah,
and we weren't doing it digitally, and you're just like, just send it to us. We'll paste it up for you. And I'm like, all right, and y'all still pay me full page rates, but that means there was like one page, it was just a head, all just here, and there, and it's just the same background over and over. There was like 4 or 5 pages in a row of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, who was? See, that kind of goes to your writing thing about if it's really the same background over and over again for 3 or 4 pages in a row, do we need to even draw the same background? What's the point of that? Well, so why did that was kind of
well. You also do have to ask, okay, if he's really in the same spot for 3 pages, is this really necessary? Is this scene really necessary? Is everything this character saying really necessary?
No, I think he was sitting at a computer table, and he was like staring at the table, and you could see him doing this or something like that. It was just the same background over and over and over. Sometimes he'd be like this, sometimes he'd be like this, sometimes he'd be like this, sometimes he'd be like, and I'm like, So I fully rendered the one thing, and you just pasted it up. That's
when
I got it back. It had all these paste steps all over. I think y'all sent me the pages back. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, that is one of my pet peeves as a reader, is to see all of these writers who are trying to make their comic books into a TV show, and it's like, we really don't need to see all these tiny little, I mean, some but for page after page, we don't need to see all of these things, Vic says, nah, that's called free money. Oh, this hurts. Back in the late 1900s, when every book sold at least 10K. Late 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's spoken by someone who's never breathed a moment of the late 1900s.
Yeah.
But what about
still
Pete?
A baby.
I'm trying to remember. Has Pete ever done that? I can't remember. If Pete
I think I did it once.
Okay.
Actually, I think I did it on. I did it on this issue, actually, on issue 2.
Oh, did you?
I did it in one panel. It was because it was.
Tommy
what I was
shaking
trying
his
to
head,
do is show a reaction. So she was doing something in one panel, and then something had caught her attention, so it's suddenly like her head's flicked up in shock.
Yeah.
So
Same background.
Yeah, I think I just left that to Tommy to say just put the same background in. Nothing's changed in the background. Just put the background in.
I think it was one of the pages I just sent to you guys. Had
it's
they were. I
was
starting to ink it, and I was like, "Oh, this is the same background, just shifted over a little bit." So I inked.
Yeah. It's page one.
Fully inked one of them, and I inked right through all the stuff just so I could get everything. And then I just copied it and stuck it over the other one. Because I'm like,
if you've got the page,
it's
up to you if we want to show it or not. You can show those last two panels on page one.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can
show what we did.
Try to see if I can dig it up here. I don't.
And you can see why it saved time for me not to have to pencil the same thing over again.
What's wrong one?
So yes, there is a point where it does serve a purpose.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it personally. To me, it makes sense.
I think just doing it for a whole page, like you say, you got to wonder whether it's really necessary. I did it for reaction. It's a reaction shot, so.
But I would go back
if it's the same scene, you know, one thing happens and then it's the same scene that something else happens. There's no reason not to do it, you know, and which is the case of page 3. I think if you look at the
3 or 1,
I don't remember page 1, but page 3, I know it had it in page 3.
Page 1 looks like
but I don't think you can show page 3 because it'll spoil something.
Yeah, you can't show page 3.
No.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm getting this one up here. Let's see here. Share, or what is it? Present. Share screen. Here we go. So this is the panel in question, right? Or
panels. The last 2 panels.
Yeah, these 2 here.
So you can see what I was going for. In fact, did I just do the head? Or did I do? Maybe I did the figure. I can't remember. But yeah, I was just trying to show that something's grabbed your attention. The head's snapped up.
Yeah.
So boom.
Yeah.
So while I'm not redrawing everything.
But yeah, so the background is all
so the background was drawn in the first one, but
I think I left it all separate.
To decide to do the next bit.
I think I went ahead and inked it all separate. Okay, but Roland, if you show page 3, don't show the bottom half of it.
Okay.
So you can't have inked it sepaperately because I didn't draw the background in the last panel. You would have to have copied and pasted it and then inked it again.
I don't remember.
I didn't draw the background in that last panel.
Well, I wouldn't have just made it up. I don't do that. Just don't show the second half of the page. Just the top half.
I got loaded in here. Oh yeah, I can't show. So it's the top panels, right?
The first and third.
Yeah. Here we go.
Did you stat one in? You can't have done because I didn't draw them like that.
I didn't do that. There you go.
Oh no, maybe you could have done. Yeah, all right. I didn't. I actually did draw them, but yeah.
No, you didn't, because they were. I copied over one and dragged it over the other one. It was the same drawing.
No, that's you being lazy. I drew it.
All right, we're gonna have to do a bleep on this one. I'm gonna call it BS on that one because it was.
I find it now. Got everything on my phone somewhere.
Say here. Jerry says, "Where do you go? Move the move camera, pan, push in, pull out, silhouette, bird's eye, worm's eye." Yeah. And then he says, then Vic says, Jerry always gives pretty good advice. You think? Makes sense to copy, to be honest. Jackson Riddick, what's up, Jackson? Says, currently working on a short story where I'm using static panels on a couple of pages with a top image that gets positioned in different locations. So that sounds to me like a cut and paste to me. Tommy, I don't see your screen there anymore. Did you stop sharing?
I don't know what happened. Let me get it back.
Yeah, so So yeah, me personally, I don't have a problem with that because it does make sense. And because, y'all know me, I'm all about shortcuts. If it gets us to, the end product. And if the writer's asking you to do the same thing.
Well, I mean, on that one, like panel 1 and 3, it's like, champions falling, and then on a balcony, and then the next panel is they grabbed him and he's pulling him back up. It's like, okay, what's the same? It's the same background.
Yeah. Jackson says,
it works good on him.
Yeah. And that looks good. Because Vic says, because he did do that one book, something with the rats or birds or something. Yeah, it looks good. But, the other thing that I think sort of a cut and paste like that does for your reader, it helps to keep everything in perspective, right? It shows, okay, here's where we are. Here's the character. Something happens and you get a character reaction. It's the same place. There's no movement in the background. You get that character movement so that you see it, right? So the last question I asked was, how do you know, as a creator, how do you know when to stop? Pete kind of addressed that. Tommy, you got something else to add, Pete?
Oh, I don't know. When I know the answer, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Tommy, what about you? How do you know? Because as an inker, there's a lot of stuff on the page.
He knows when he's copy and paste everything. He can copy and paste.
Well, it's more of I guess trying to make sure that it still looks really good. But if I can,
when he's checked, I've drawn every hand I was meant to draw.
That's true.
He's done them.
Having the eye now of being a printer, some of the stuff that I see that I'm inking, I'm like, that's not even going to show up anymore.
Yeah.
I
still
try not to.
Hey, if you zoom in on that TV screen, I'll show you a trick.
I am so upset with you on this TV screen. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it.
I did the writing I did on a computer.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you do that. I'm gonna let you do that, or I'll let the letterer put that in there too.
Yeah.
Because it was too small. I thought once I go with pencils, I tried to do it with pencil. It looked rubbish.
But it's gonna be this big. You're not gonna be able to read it anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it boils down to what reads right. I think that's a thing that I learned when doing caricatures out at Disney. Even if you couldn't draw something properly, as long as it read right, you know what I mean? As long as it felt like it was what it was supposed to be that you were trying to draw. So if you draw those bricks and, you zoom way in and you're drawing brick by brick and you're trying to get some texture on the brick and stuff. Or I could just take a ruler and just draw lines across and then put the other line to get the other part of the brick on there. I cheated that way. But as long as it reads like bricks, and it still looks really good, it doesn't matter. Or you could take 5 hours and draw all the bricks like Pete did.
Jerry and Jackson, you guys are still listening. You guys chime in. Jerry, how do you, as an artist, decide, okay, that's enough, where do I stop? And Jackson, what about you? When you're drawing something, how do you decide, hey, I've drawn enough. That's enough details. How do you decide?
Sometimes it's when it's like, no, I really need to get on and finish this. So I'm going to call this one done and get on with the next thing. Sometimes it's just a matter of, actually, no, I need to be done now.
So my
deadlines is also a good indicator that it's time to put it down.
Yeah.
Time to move to that next page. If you know that you've got to get a page done in the day and it's all there, but if say you're doing a page a day and you still had an hour and a half left in your day, it's like, well, I could start on tomorrow's page, or I can noodle on this a little bit and make it really cool, or go fix dinner and just and stop an hour and a half early. Sometimes that your deadline really makes you get things done.
If I were to guess, and it is just a guess, If I were to guess, I would say that's probably the deciding factor for a lot of artists on a lot of pages, right?
Yeah.
You because I don't know that I've ever met an artist yet who didn't tell me, well, I probably could have done a little bit of this and a little bit of that still, right? So it does usually boil down to, you know what, I've already spent 8 hours on this page. It's time to move to the next one. I like this.
already.
Yeah. Jerry says, for me, it's selective detailing, seeing patterns rather than a prescribed number of bricks.
Yeah.
So as long as
I think it takes experience to get to that. It takes a lot of experience to get to that where you can say, actually,
yeah,
I don't think I'm there yet. But
and it just means that you got to draw 1,000 bricks before you can get there, right?
Yeah. And I would look at pages. I look at pages now, and I look at them and think, I shouldn't have done that. I've done too much. It does nothing for the page. It's just I saw an empty space and thought I had to put something in there, and I didn't.
Yeah. I sometimes feel that way with words.
I do that with everything. Shouldn't have done that. That was a waste.
Tommy heard me. Did you hear what I said, Pete?
I'm going to cover
that.
I said I sometimes feel that way with words.
Yeah, too many words.
Yeah.
You didn't need to say that.
Or look, there's a little head and a great big background. I got to put some words in there.
You've got to fill that with some words. The artist is asking me to put something in there.
Right.
Save this page.
It's if the panel has lots of details in it, and I'm like, I can't put any words there because I'll cover up the details. But there's just big cloudy sky. Oh, I can put words there, right? Jerry said, great painters can paint a farmer's market and detail only some of the fruit and indicate for others. Well, and I think, what it all boils down to is, I think you kind of said it slightly different words, Pete, is that it has to serve the story and serve the reader, right? If the reader can see it and understand what's going on, and I argue that confusion on the reader's part is not the reader's fault. I have a lot of students that will read independent comics off of Indie Planet, and they'll say, I was confused when I read this, and it's just because I haven't read that many comics. And I tell them, no, that is not your fault. If you don't understand the comic, it is the fault of, actually, I blame the writer, right? It's the writer's fault for not adequately writing that in a way that you can understand it. Now, we all know sometimes it's not the writer's fault. Sometimes it is the artist's fault for the way they draw things. But I tend to blame the writers because they're the ones at the head of the assembly chain, and it all starts with them. So,
because maybe the artist didn't know what he was supposed to be drawing.
Jerry says, "Okay, I'll blame the writer too."
yeah. So everyone blame the writer. The writer will blame the editor. And
Jerry, no names here. No names. We're not going to take any names. Yeah, but I do. Would you guys agree or disagree with that? Do you think that a confused writer a confused reader is kind of the ultimate sin of the comic book creator?
Yeah. You can't blame the reader. If he doesn't understand what's going on a page, that's not his fault. That's you haven't communicated clearly what's going on. That's basic. That's 101. You're telling a story, you need to be clear what's going on.
Yeah.
And that comes down to, not just drawing nice pictures, but the flow of your panels and where they are, and do they flow in the right direction? Or are you jumping from one panel to the next panel but skipping one because you've got an overlapping, right? The overlapping panel was obviously, I think it must have become very popular in the 90s, early 2000s, that overlapping popping out. and it works really well when it's done well. But when it's
sometimes,
overlapping the wrong panel, like panel 3 is overlapping panel 1, you're going to skip panel 2 because your eye goes straight to that panel.
Yeah,
you have to know which way it's
I've seen loads of that. It's like, yes, you've drawn a nice picture, but I've skipped panel 2.
Yeah,
you've directed my eye in the wrong direction.
So a major media within this past year, a major media company, which I cannot mention, reached out to me and wanted me to take a look at some stuff, and so they sent me 1 or 2 pages, and I said, okay, so here's the problem: the art is pretty, okay, the art was pretty. I said, but here's the problem: you didn't have an editor look at this because what they did in on the page, right on, they had 2 panels at the top, and then they had a wide panel for panel 3. A figure in panel 3 had their head sticking into panel 1.
Yeah.
Which describes exactly like you said, Pete, what you do. You would look at panel 1 and then you were immediately pulled into panel 2. You skipped panel 3. You skipped panel 2 completely. And I'm like, it doesn't work. You can't do that. It's like, because you're pulling the, and I literally took a Photoshop thing and I drew, to pick a big red marker, and I said, here's where your eye goes and here's the problem with it. I didn't hear back from him. I was like,
don't want to hear honesty.
I was like, I'm sorry. The art was pretty. Please don't, and that's what I told him. Please don't get me wrong. This artist, is able to draw. The characters look nice, the backgrounds look nice, but the storytelling isn't there. And I have I kind of think that we find ourselves in that generation that, and this is one of the reasons I'm so thankful for the Cuber School, because I know that this is what they teach you guys. They don't teach you style. They teach you how to tell a story. And so whatever your style is, that doesn't matter, right? You can go in with a real cartoony style, or you can come out with a style like Pete.
It doesn't matter as long as you can tell the story. It doesn't matter how you draw. Okay, your style might mean I wouldn't draw bone.
Right. Yeah.
But I can tell a story, I hope.
Yes.
And I don't. Yeah. And I'll put my hands up. I don't always get it right. And I'm sure people have looked at my books and gone, not sure what's gone on there. But
I fixed it, Pete. Don't worry about it.
I just blame the writer. They said, what happened on this page? I said, the writer really didn't know what he was doing.
The writer.
He just said, do what you like. And
he said fire engines.
For pages 2 through 18, can you just do something and just leave me the cliffhanger at the end? Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll always blame the guy upstream, right?
Yeah, always blame that guy that's not there to defend himself. That's the trick.
Vic says, so when I can't understand something, get mad at Roland, not Pete. Note taken. Yeah. Vic says, I'm disappointed we didn't get the Cat and Mouse in Vegas movie. Hey, it ain't over yet. Might happen. Jerry said, pretty and storytelling are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think what happens is, and you look at, I did the same, and I do the same. You look at comics now, and they are beautiful, right? Some of these guys are incredible, and you think, I want to draw incredible, pretty pictures. You don't think, I want to tell a really cool story like that. So everyone's growing up, and I think everyone does it when they're kids, and they look at these comics and they go, wow, these are amazing. And you don't give thought to the story, you give thought to the pretty picture.
Right.
Because you understand the story, you've read it, and that's fine. But you just want to draw cool stuff.
Pete, would you agree or disagree or think it doesn't matter that social media has helped that along, because a lot of artists are able to just draw a pretty picture and boom, put it up, and they get instant gratification.
I've seen people they're drawing, but it looks like a photograph. And I'm like, Jesus, beautiful. Okay, it's taken them a long time.
Yeah,
but it's incredible. I wouldn't ask that guy to draw a comic book.
Right? Yeah.
You can draw a pretty picture. That's great. You can be a cover artist.
Yes.
But even that requires some understanding of not just copying something, but creating a dynamic and interesting and catchy image.
Right. It's not just a splash page. It shouldn't
It's not
be.
just I'm going to draw. Well, I suppose you could just draw a figure. You could just. There are cover artists that just draw heads.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I like my covers to try and tell a bit of a story.
Yeah, me
give
too.
an indication as to what's going on in the issue. But everyone's different.
And wait till they see the cover you drew for this issue.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's if I ever find a scanner.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to be blank.
Yeah.
Pages
Draw
15
your own.
onwards, also blank.
We'll call it the DIY cover, right?
It suddenly got really snowy.
Let's see. Jerry says, yeah, regardless of style, storytelling is more important.
Yeah.
I
I sometimes forget that, and I'm sometimes get lost in the picture I'm drawing. Oh wow, this is really cool. I'm going to make a really cool picture here.
Yeah.
And I have to check. Oh, actually, maybe I should just make this a little bit smaller, and then I can do some more things on the page.
But I'll come to your defense, Pete, in that I think that you're a fairly recent grad from the school, right?
Yeah.
From the Kubert School. Your odometer is still below 10,000 miles.
I guess, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've got some catching up to do.
While you're not the typical young age of a Kubert grad, you're still a young fella in the sense of the number of pages produced.
Yeah, because I spent time doing it myself at home, and I learned before I went there that it's not just drawing a pretty picture. You got to be able to tell a story. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you want to draw comic books. So whilst I focus on trying to be really good at drawing, it doesn't mean anything if people can't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how good I am. And I said in my interview, I said, I don't expect to be the best artist in the world, but I'd really like to be able to tell a great story. And if I can do that, then I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
I know I'm not Jim Lee. I'm not, some of these guys. I'm not Jerry. So I just tell a good story, and if people enjoy the story, I've done a good job.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things as a, and I'm not saying this is how you feel. I know this was me years ago. You have to be. I think at some point in your career, early on, you're like, I want to be the next Jim Lee, right? Or I want to be the next, Steve Englehart or Roy Thomas for the writer part. But at some point in time, in your head and your brain and in your career, you got to say, no, I don't want to be the next Roy Thomas. I want to be the first Roland Mann, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Look, I'm influenced by Roy Thomas. I'm influenced by Steve Englehart, Stan Lee, and these were my influences. But I don't want to be them. I want to be me. It's cool if
best me I can be.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So,
and
that's sometimes a tough. That's one of those hills you got to get over as a creator, because we do find so much inspiration and influence from those who
a portion of going to the school was they had to expectations of the students. It's like, just because you're coming here doesn't mean you're going to work for Marvel and DC. Yeah. So kids who went there thinking, well, when I finish, I'm just going to work for them. I was like, no, that's not how this works. I wish it was, but that's not how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, what do you mean we're not going to? I said, well, why? Why are they going to hire you? Why don't I get it?
So true. That's so true.
They're going to say, sorry, Andy Kubert, we don't need you today because we got this guy who's never drawn a book before. We got him. We got him now, and you can take a back seat. It's not going to happen.
That's right. Yeah. You gotta prove that you can produce the work, the quality work, and in a fairly timely manner. You got to prove that you can do that before the big guys are going to be interested in you.
Yeah. You got to do a lot.
You got to have a body of work. Yeah, because you can't just say, here's my portfolio from school. Hire me. I don't know how many pages y'all do, but probably a finished book.
You
I
do
would
a
guess,
lot.
huh?
You do a lot.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I look back on my stuff now, like, Christ, that was bad. Why was I showing them this? But that's the best I had at the time. I'm like, yeah. So you're always improving. You hope to be always improving. But
well, that's it. You bring your best at the time, and you learn from it, and you move on. Jerry said,
don't ever think, if anyone's out there who wants to do this, don't ever think I won't show them this because I'm going to get better next year.
Right.
Just show them your best stuff now.
Yes.
Just don't wait. Just because they'll give you feedback, and the feedback will probably be, you need to work on this. That's fine.
And that's why
don't think I'll just give it another year.
I got a lot of respect for Vic because this is one of the things Vic just had a birthday. He's 16 now, but this is one of the things that Vic did. Said, "Hey, here's a whole bunch of my pencils, and tell me what you think." And I'm like, "Man, that's the way. That's the way you got to get it done."
Yeah.
Jerry said it took me many years before my work was quote unquote decent. Yeah, and then
I'm sure Jerry's been very modest, but
yeah.
I look back on artists I love, and look back at their early work, and I can see how, compared to the stuff now, you're like, oh dear, that's not great. But at the time, I was like, this is incredible. And that's if you're not progressing, if you're not getting better, then I wonder why you do it. Yeah,
you should probably do something else.
If you don't want to get better, if you think you've done it, then go do something else.
Yeah. Vic said, I got some great advice on my faces by Rob being Rob Davis. And then Vic said, I got to get my work to that decent level, Jerry. That's what the arrow's going to just page after page after page. Vic, you're on the path. So maintain it. All right. Well, good chat tonight, fellas. I noticed our clock here is our time is up. Any final thoughts? Any words of wisdom on details and
always have your inker check you've drawn the right hands. Is my advice.
That's my job.
Don't wait for the book to come out and go, oof, there's no hand in that pen holding that gun. How did the inker miss that?
Wait, did that happen?
Huh?
Or did that happen?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure it probably has happened.
Yeah, probably.
My inker caught it whilst I was watching him do it. So hey, you're gonna finish that hand? What hand? The one you haven't drawn?
Yeah.
Well, I would have fixed it after we got offline. I didn't want you to see me change your artwork as you were watching me do it.
You can put his name down under artist on the book now.
Jerry says, ease up on the bricks.
Ease up on the bricks.
Vic says, talk about a handgun. Get it? Ha 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 ha. Happy Jack said, this is fun. I'm glad I caught this stream. Well, thank you, Happy Jack. We are glad that you joined us as well. Please don't be shy the next time you come and ask us questions. We are happy to answer questions. In fact, that helps us sometimes keep the momentum, because sometimes I can ask these guys a question that I intend for it to be open-ended, and they say yes.
Yep.
And then I'm like, well, I expected us to talk about that for 10 minutes, but there it is. We are here every Sunday. Happy Jack. Next week, let's see. I already know the schedule for this coming week. Hold on, let me find it. I know that we posted it on where's Silverline here on Twitter. On Tuesday, don't forget to tune in. We have 3 streams on Tuesday. We have that's right. Madeline Holly Rising will be here on Tuesday to talk about Boston Metaphysical. If you're not familiar with her, she her last couple Kickstarters have got close to 1,000 backers. So she's going to be talking with our Tuesday crew. Wednesday night crew is going to be talking about tabletop role playing and story creation. How do those two connect together? What a lot of people don't know, and I won't be on the Wednesday show, but what a lot of people don't know is that demon of who shows up in Cat and Mouse and other stories, was actually a role-playing character that I had back in college for a story called Superworld. So there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of interaction between the two. And then, of course, next week for us, Madeline will be on our show, and we're going to quiz her all kinds of up and down about her Kickstarters and how she's getting nearly 1,000 backers. That's a lot of eyeballs.
It is.
So we're going to see if we can't figure out what some of her magic is. So again, Happy Jack, thanks for tuning in. Jerry says, have a good week, boys. Thank you, Jerry. You as well.
You too. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Madeline's second interview, in case you want to pregame with the Wednesday Wham interview. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to actually be playing or not. Yeah, dang, 3 rounds. That's right. Yeah, Madeline's gonna be by the time we finish next week, she will have been on the Wednesday, the Tuesday, and then the Sunday show. So, all right, guys, let me cue up this video here. See if I can find it. Any final words? Feel better, Tommy?
Don't get a head cold.
Yeah, we care.
All right. Until next time, remember to
Oh, my time is gone, but make mine silver.
mine Silverline.
It was here a minute ago.
It's so bad.
I'm April Hunter. Make mine Silverline.
All right.